episode of Sisters with the Tea. It's not that type of tea.
That's right, sister.
It's not that type of tea, but we spilling some great tea. We want to bring to you knowledge, enlightenment, and hopefully in our message, you'll be able to find a part of you. Today's featured tea is peace and vitality. Y'all like y'all tea?
I love it. I absolutely love it.
The name speaks for itself.
Yes,
so there are ingredients in here that calm you, but also at the same time, like I had a little little scratch in my throat yesterday. I felt like, something was really about to pop off up in there. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to sip me some peace and vitality. And I took 1 cup. And the other ingredients in there, that's that vitality part.
Throw it all off.
It throws it all off. It's definitely an immunity booster, but also if you have if you feel like you're coming down with something, this is the go-to. You want to grab it. So be sure to check out our website. This one is on the Healing Connections Herbal. And again, this one is the Peace and Vitality. And these bad babies going for $10 a pouch. You get a good 2.5 ounces. I think I calculated you get a good 10, 12 cups out of this. So definitely worth it.
Yes, it definitely is.
Get it while the price is right.
Yes, and not only it has its benefits, but it also tastes very, very good. I tell you, I can probably drink that all day long.
All day long. I love it. Love it. So this is definitely handcrafted by me. And so it has some soft notes of hibiscus, some ginger root, elderberry, rose hip, valerian root, all that good stuff. I can't tell you all my secrets because, But yeah, this is where you want to be, right here. So be sure to check it out. This is what we sipping on while we, jump into our discussion today. You could put that up there so our people could take a good look at that.
All right, there you go.
Thank you, baby. All right. So today we just going to jump into it. We are talking about abusive relationships. Not just domestic violence, but abuse. Like it comes in so many forms.
Yes, it does.
And when I speak of so many forms, it's more than, of course they have Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I honestly believe a month is not enough to educate our people on what is going on out here. What are you getting yourselves into? What is it that you look for? What should you run from? What should you run to? It's a lot of confusion and misperception out there. So we're going to get into it. We have our wonderful guest, DeAngelo. Y'all know I love having him on. Thank you so much for joining us again. We value his opinions so much, and he definitely brings and offers a different perspective. And today, I love how he always just offers the male point of view. And today he'll be able to offer that male point of view in regards to abusive relationships. And so definitely a pleasure to have you on.
Right. We definitely don't want to have everything one-sided, so we always have to have every 2 sides of the story going on.
We ain't doing no man bashing up in this.
Right.
No man bashing.
Right. No man bashing.
There's some crazy ass ladies running around this bitch too.
You absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And the statistics really show, and I'm not a big fan of statistics, but sometimes at some point you have to pay attention to what the statistics are telling us. And to be truthful, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience some type of physical violence by an intimate partner. And I do believe that men, when it comes to men, that is the part where it's kept on the hush. We don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. I didn't abuse me. No, that lady not doing no such thing. But really, it comes in many forms.
Many forms.
Abuse does not discriminate.
There's some battered men out here too. I'm trying to tell you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when we speak on batter, we speaking more on just the physical batter. We talking about batter of the mind as well. So, what y'all think about the different types of abuse? I definitely want to just get into the different types. So when it comes to verbal DeAngelo, what does that entail?
Verbal, I mean, just like how it sounds, yelling, cussing, putting down, etc. The mind games that come with the verbal part, dismissing, just, I've seen niggas call they woman bitches and hoes in public, and, it's one thing to do things behind closed doors, and a whole nother thing to do things in public. You can get away with a lot of shit behind closed doors versus in public. And if a person would disrespect you in public, imagine what behind them closed doors consist of. So, that's just that's the name of a few, but, we get a little deeper.
That's definitely like a red flag right
there. Oh,
there.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Paying attention to how they treat you in public.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors, believe me, it's amplified. So, like I say, I done been through, at my younger stage, I don't believe in calling women bitches. I used to joke with it back in the day. I watched a lot of movies like The Mac and shit, and I used to call them for like my bottom bitch, which that's a compliment.
It was a compliment.
That was a compliment, because even if you know what a bottom bitch is, that was a compliment.
Because you couldn't say that to me. I'd be like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. But this is like I say, this is early.
Real quick 2-piece.
This early 20s. This early 20s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is play, but for relationship wise, out of my relationship, I was in around about 17 years. Right. I can count on one hand how many times I called her a bitch.
Yeah.
So it's nothing that, I aim to do. You know what I mean? But, I don't see the purpose in it, to be honest.
Honestly, no. It really isn't a purpose. And when we're talking about people just being cruel and hurtful to you verbally, there really isn't a reason for it. And the moment that we begin to search for that person's reason, we make excuses for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we have diminishing accomplishments when people, when you're dealing with an individual who simply refuses to
hang that paper on the outside door. My bad, I ain't being interrupted.
When you're dealing with people who simply refuse to give you a compliment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You looking good. You feeling good. What's the first thing your spouse want to do? You look good, girl. You look good in that outfit. Or you look good, babe. Let me take your picture. And you get somebody that's just being mean for no reason. Like,
right.
I'm not taking that.
Right.
Like, yeah, okay. You look all right.
You all right.
You look all right. Or look, I done cleaned the whole house today. You did all right. You did all right job. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Not
we
a full
speak on not a full one.
So in other words, getting downplayed.
Basically,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I can dig it.
Then we have emotional abuse. That's a big one. I feel like the emotional abuse. The reason why I say it's a really huge one, because it's a hidden psychological warfare.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's that isolation that the individual does. They're working towards isolating you in so many different ways. They're working against you to get your family to get away from you, your friends to get away from you, getting you to see, oh, these persons, they not your friends. They not real family. The games that are usually played.
Right.
The ignoring, silent treatment, that's a form of emotional abuse. When you feel that your anger is so much that you feel like you have to shut down and you cannot communicate, or you're just refusing to communicate with that individual, period. Not even giving that individual that explanation. It's one thing to walk away and say, you know what, I can't talk about this right now, but when I get my head together, then we can talk about it.
Right.
Versus hitting the floor and you just completely ignoring that individual the moment y'all wake up, or you in that person's presence, but you just giving them the whole silent treatment. That's a form of emotional abuse. Yes, infidelity is a form of emotional abuse. Cheating, infidelity, whatever you want to call it. That is definitely a form of emotional abuse. Following or stalking the victim. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
People make
That's
jokes.
a big one.
People make
That's a
jokes
big
about
one
the
right
dude
there.
hiding in the bushes, y'all. But that's real
That's
deal.
real.
That is some
That's
real
real.
stuff.
I know it's
That's
real.
very
When
much real.
you realize usually it happens at the height of that abusive relationship. You know, you don't get a person just coming out of the bushes early on, unless they just already far too gone. But usually,
I
what
disagree.
you gotta say to that?
I disagree.
What?
Because you said that happened. Well, I'm not gonna disagree. I got a different outlook on that because I can't disagree with your what you believe, right? But you said it's at the height, right? But really, it's not because
not?
it shows samples when you thought he was just popping up to see you and
Ooh,
shit. He cute. He coming to see me.
Right.
He brought me lunch. I ain't asked for it, but he came with a full course meal.
full course meal.
You know what I mean? So it's barriers. Motherfuckers popping up at your house without calling.
Without calling.
So it's like, see,
Popping
that's
up
what
at
I'm
your
saying.
job.
Yeah.
That's what
Popping
I'm
up
saying.
anywhere
At your
that you
family
are.
house, calling motherfuckers. Have you seen?
No
Like,
sense of boundary whatsoever.
so it's not at the height. It's always at the beginning. We just look at it differently.
Okay, so let me
Like,
fix
you know what I mean?
that because
Yes.
we usually take notice to the obvious
Yeah.
at the height of that abusive relationship, but the subtle cues were definitely there. So you're absolutely right, and I can relate to that. But we gonna get into that in a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I would say another big one is where people that have children, if that individual threatens to take away that child, I think that is like one of the most horrible ways to corner an individual when you use that child as a pawn and say, if you leave this relationship, you will never see your children again. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that. On how that type of mind game really comes into play.
Right.
Threats of physical violence, threats of murder, minimizing or denying behavior. I didn't do that. I didn't mean to do that. Or, you know, that cycle of,
That
I'm going to do
wasn't
it, but
my
I'm going to apologize.
intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you got for physical abuse?
Well, for physical abuse, that is like the ultimate of abuse. And well, let me change that. That's one of the most ultimates of abuse.
Why is it the most ultimate?
Because once you find excuses on emotional and verbal abuse, a lot of people tend to hide the physical abuse aspect of things because it coincides with emotional and verbal abuse. So once the victim, whether he or she is being abused, you know, they tend to hide all of the above. So it all trickles down from emotional, verbal, and physical, for that matter. If the physical hasn't already been intact with the emotional and verbal abuse. I have literally been through all forms of abuse. And with that being said, each excuse that I have made was for my abuser.
Well, we gonna get a little more into that.
Yes.
So when you say all forms of abuse,
I have been through verbal abuse. I've been through the emotional abuse. I've been through physical abuse and also the sexual abuse.
and the sexual abuse, that's like a no-brainer.
Yes, it's definitely.
I'm going to take that back, though. It's not a no-brainer. It's not. Because the sexual abuse comes in so many forms. An individual can rape you while in a relationship.
Yes.
If this is your
Yes,
spouse,
that's true. That is
depending
true.
on the state that you are in, you cannot press charges on your spouse. If a weapon is used during sex, there's nothing cute about that.
Not at all.
Nothing at all. Role playing,
Not at all.
no nothing. Yeah, see, you like, huh? Forcing oral sex. That's another one. That is sexual abuse. When you forcing that individual to give you oral sex, and not only top of that, on the top of all of that, you seal it with a cherry, and I ain't talking about the good cherry.
What cherry are we talking about?
We talking about the jizz. Inflicting pain. If that person doesn't invite, and see, this is why it's important to know boundaries. When you know when you're with your partner and you're with them intimately, having that discussion of
Yes, you definitely have to create those boundaries.
what is
and
okay for
definitely
you
have
and
to-
what is not okay for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why now they create safe words and know when it is to say, okay, it's time to stop.
It's a whole different realm, and it's a fine. That one is a very fine line.
Fine line.
That can be very confusing for some people, because some people was like, I like to be choked, I like to be slapped, I don't mind all that. That's good for me. Well, you can send them my way. Listen,
Until it actually happens.
when it comes uninvited, it takes your sexual experience to a whole nother level. And so for you, sis, I can relate. Like, I've experienced every last one of them as well, you know, and I think we could speak for the both of us. I can speak for the both of us where we both experience what is called polytrauma. And polytrauma basically means that you have experienced trauma on every level, multiple forms, multiple types of trauma on multiple occasions. And so thinking about for every... You little nosy
bitch
thing. She nosy, ain't she? Boy, these phones ain't no jar to figure out how to turn that off. Next thing you know, I'm beginning to ask somebody, if you're in a domestic violence, please call the 1-800 number. I'm like, where this ad coming from? But you know, being in a abusive relationship, what I'm saying is the longer you are with that individual, the more you are going to be subjected to trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. Each event causes for a traumatic event.
Yes,
Each
it does.
occasion causes for some form of traumatic event. The other thing that I know is you can come into that relationship and you are already a polytrauma survivor. And so let's talk about the characteristics, because I really do believe that an abuser, they specifically target individuals. That's just like any man, any woman. They you specifically target who you want, right? And it's certain things, certain telltales where you like, okay, I could push a little further, or it might be the person I want to get to know. But for an individual, and I'm not calling that, I really don't like to use this word narcissistic, but it really is for some people, like, some people have narcissistic
tendencies.
Not narcissistic personality disorder. Those are two different things. They're not two different things, but it just crosses over to the threshold to a whole nother level. But when I speak on narcissism, I'm speaking on the qualities, the tendencies. And so when an individual is seeking out their victim, what are they looking for?
I would have to say the vulnerability. See how vulnerable that person is. To see how gullible they are.
What makes them vulnerable?
Depending on what they went through in life. Whether they have very low self-esteem, very low self-confidence in themselves. if they went through a lot in their life, so they tend to prey on that.
Ooh. Self-esteem.
From a
male perspective.
Well,
What you gotta say?
let's not leave out the support.
That is also true.
Because a lot of men, speaking from a man point of view, a lot of men seek out seek out a woman who has lack of support. You know what I mean? For a mother, father, sister, brother, etc. Like, if they see that the support is not there, in their eyes, that woman could be easily controlled. They ain't got nobody to answer to, no brothers, no uncles. It's one thing to your mom, your sister, that's to another female. But for another man, you know, so I would say that too. But
you're right about that.
you said something about, what is it, narcissistic?
Yeah, narcissistic characteristics.
I think on that aspect of it, right, between a narcissistic person and an insecure person, I think would dictate narcissistic, excuse me, my since like public school pronunciation and kicked in. but that type of guy would probably mimic, as you were saying earlier, force of sex. Because they think like, you here for me, you here to make me feel good. An insecure motherfucker would be more, and this is my, what I think, more my opinion. An insecure guy would show more of a different type of domestic. Like, you know what I mean? He might be the motherfucker to pop up. Like, he might be the motherfucker, not saying they don't share the same traits.
They go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. Like, I mean, I'm just listening to y'all. Like, when you say force of sex, like me personally, I don't want shit that don't belong to me.
Right.
Like, don't do me no favors. Like, I can never see myself coming home as a man, drunk or no drunk, and call myself taking some shit from him. Like, it's not that damn serious to me. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want motherfucker to make no fake acts on me, You keep that shit. Like, you know what I mean?
All right. It takes the fun out of it.
Right. Because it feel like fucking I'm raping somebody now. Like, what the fuck? That's not a feeling that I, you know what I mean? Like, who the fuck want to experience that shit? Like, there ain't nothing sexy about that. But, that's a touch on a few, though. But we'll follow up on it.
You're on the right page with that, though.
Yeah.
Because honestly, a narcissistic person, the characteristics stem far and deep into things that have happened in that individual's life, excuse me, that has really caused that individual to feel insecure. And I know we talk a lot about how insecurity comes in many shapes, many forms.
It sure does.
Anybody can feel insecure.
Sure does.
I can feel insecure about, in my feelings. I can be insecure in the way that I look. I can be insecure in me being around or in certain situations. It comes in various shapes or forms. An individual who tends to be the abuser often feels insecure in a relationship. They lack the boundaries. Why? Because they're insecure. I can go on, I can go deep, because it is deep. But I don't want to get too far off the topic. I'm going to save that for another segment where I can really break it down when I talk about the attachment from the moment that person had came out of the womb and what to really look for. But when we are speaking on the vulnerabilities, we're talking about an individual who is seeking you out. They are filling you out. They are looking to see where they can fit in and how they are going to get away with the things that they want to do to you. Our goal in this discussion at some point is to show people, whether man or woman, what are some things that they need to look out for themselves,
Right.
in order to save themselves, because no one can save you. No one saved you.
No one can save you but yourself.
No one saved me. I had to save myself, and our goal is to save people from where they're inches away from their life, because not everybody makes it to that point.
That's right.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So when is it, when is it a good time to ask for that help? Because you say, like you said, you got to save yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And that come in many different ways. My opinion, calling your family, police, etc., leaving. When is the time? Like, because I know, it's just a lot of women in my family and people that I know. Mm-hmm. It's like a motherfucker can wait too damn long. Mm-hmm. Versus, and the reason most people wait too long is because that person is giving that person an excuse.
Yeah, it's a lot
Why?
of different things.
So
I
get
a lot of different things in a lot of ways. And first and foremost, you have to stop ignoring those telltale signs.
The light things. What did you find that you missed in the beginning?
Oh, it was quite a bit. But there were things that I've seen for myself, and I've known it all along. But yet, for myself, it was the part of proving people wrong. It was that stubbornness of, it's us against the world. That type of thing. But before
you got to that point.
But
what pushed you to that point? What pushed you psychologically to that point that you felt like you had to take up for him?
It was the control.
Yes.
It was that having a quote unquote protector.
What did he do? There was something that he did, and I can speak on this, and I don't feel like I'm grilling her, but this is my sister. So we've seen each other go through what we went through.
We've been through a lot,
and we've been through a lot.
And I've also seen
but it was something that he was doing that you didn't see in the beginning, and that was that red flag.
Was portraying to be my protector. He was portraying that he would always be there for me no matter what.
That knight in shining armor complex.
Yes, that knight in shining armor.
Yeah, I'm telling y'all, run from him. Run from him.
It was just a factor of knowing that he would protect me and he would protect my children. He wouldn't let no harm come to us. That was the factor.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this along with that. Along with the protecting side, it was also the control side. He was also controlling my mind and how I felt. He was also controlling how I isolated myself from my family and my friends. And had me almost to the point of being antisocial. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of control along with the protecting.
You know what I noticed he would do? And then I think DeAngelo has something that he wants to say, so I'm gonna pass the mic back over to you. But I'm gonna tell you what I noticed that he did. Mm-hmm. He would start things. He would start drama in the home. Mm-hmm. He would start drama with mom. Mm-hmm. Based off of mom having her rules, set of rules and boundaries with you. Mm-hmm. And he would go against those boundaries that mom had set for you.
Yes,
and to you, being the teenager that you were or the young adult, you looked at that as like, wow, he really sticking up. Because of course, any young adult or, emerging young adult is going to believe that like mom on me like real heavy, like she don't give me no slack. So it was like for him, he came in and was just like, she could do, like he challenged her.
Right.
And so they get into the fallouts. And in your eyes, you looked at him as if like, oh, he's the hero. He's sticking up for me. Because you never had somebody stick up for you the way that he stuck. No man has ever stuck up for you. He was the first individual man that stuck up for you, that you were able to take notice, that stood up for you.
Right. You are absolutely right.
And that's what I saw. And immediately mom called it out. Before things even hit the fan, she called it out. She said he's gonna take you. He's gonna do X, Y, Z, all the way down from A all the way down to Z.
Lord behold, it happened just in that order.
Yeah.
It happened in that order.
Yeah.
And, you know, even with my mom telling me things, you know, a lot of people told me a lot of things that I have ignored based on the fact of me feeling that I love him so much, and he loves me and he's going to protect me. You know, it was a lot. So I ignored those telltale signs.
Yeah.
I ignored the fact that in the beginning of the relationship that I seen the obvious. From the verbal abuse to the emotional abuse and even physical abuse. I can remember to this day, and it's so vivid, that the first time he ever hit me, he hit me on my legs.
Ooh. The physical,
I should have left.
Had it. He hit it.
That hitting.
Yeah.
It was so obvious.
But
I chose to ignore it.
Did you know, usually when abuse starts, the abuser will hit you in places
that is
where you can hide them.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll hit you in the stomach. He'll hit you in your legs. He'll hit you, punch you in your back.
Yeah.
Punch you in the back of your arm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Places where you can easily wear a sleeve.
To hide. Wear pants or whatever.
Yeah.
There were always telltale signs in the beginning, but I chose to ignore them based on my, now that I can say today, it's my selfishness. And with me being selfish and stubborn at that time, I was just so up against proving everybody wrong.
Yeah. Wait, so before we get deeper into this, I got a question for DeAngelo. Because DeAngelo, you have a lot of women in your family. You are very accustomed to being that confidant. And when we're speaking on that moment of isolation, what do you find that causes that woman to really gravitate to that guy versus her just sticking up for herself and saying this is not where it's at?
You say what caused her to gravitate towards a guy that want to isolate her?
Yeah.
I don't think it's kind of hard to answer that one because it's not. It's more or less. It's not gravitating, because if you gravitate, that means that you knew that they possess those traits. So sometimes, like, I mean, a lot of that shit don't happen until, little ways in. I mean, but what I wanted to, I think you mentioned something about a knight in shining armor, right? You say run far away from that, right?
Yeah. There's levels to that.
Right.
So let me clarify that. And I'm not saying every good guy that wants to protect you, you run away. That is exactly not what I'm saying.
Right.
But a guy that you just met, like today,
yes,
and he's doing things.
I got a story on that, and I agree with that, right? Because it is timing.
Timing makes.
And my eyes is timing. I remember years ago when I first got into a relationship, I was early 20s in this particular relationship, and this particular chick, she worked at a job, and we fresh in like shit, a year type shit, like. So she ended up calling me, this guy down at my job, did this, did that, woo, woo, woo. So I'm like, okay, well, what did you do? Like, so she kind of got mad. I called you. Well, first of all, you got a brother, you got a cousin, and please don't make me your first fucking call. Oh, God. I don't know you well enough to go to bat for you, because if this man did what he did, you made him feel comfortable. If you ain't raised hell and tell your boss, the fuck you calling me for? So it is timing. I have a son, so I'm not gonna jump out head first because a motherfucker called me. Right. Because this guy, today, you don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
If it's job related, if you ain't go through the proper channels, I'm your last motherfucking resort.
She was looking for somebody to stand up for her.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's stages to that shit. But just to answer your question, for us, not more or less gravitate to a guy that want to isolate. But it's signs, premature signs, like he was saying about for how old boy will want to protect you from your mother and speak or come in between and don't do this. That's a sign right there, because if a motherfucker ain't no respect for your parents, you ain't got shit coming.
True. That was also a telltale sign
Because-
that I ignored.
Yes, because I look at it like this, it's not my place. Now I could sit and give you advice all night behind closed doors, but I would never open my mouth to your parents. I can't compete. And the fact of a motherfucker who think your significant other can't compete with your mom and your daddy, that's some goofy ass shit too. Like, come on now. I would never come out of pocket with no one's loved ones, period. Because when it's all said and done, motherfucker, they turn their back on me before they turn their back. You know what I mean? So there's no point in that. So that's another sign right there. Like I said, and other signs is like, I know I probably said it a few times, but look at the relationship with their own motherfucking loved ones first. Because if a motherfucker don't fuck with their mama, motherfucker don't fuck with their daddy, they sibling. If motherfucker ain't did nothing short to try to take you off this face of this earth or try to kill you, you know what I mean? That's different for cutting a motherfucker off. But if a person don't fuck with their loved ones, you ain't got shit coming. I'm trying to tell you. If a motherfucker turn their back on their own mama and their own motherfucking daughters and sons and shit, and you think this motherfucker love you?
That part.
Come on, man.
Yeah, like I said, it was
Come on.
the telltale signs was always there.
Yeah.
I just chose to ignore them.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you something. I caught a dope DV back when I was what 20, 21 or some shit like that.
How did you get into your DV?
I caught that case. Let me make sure I wanna. How can I say this? This old girl. She was a fighter, right? So she was a fighter. She was, her mother was a fighter. I saw her mama do the same shit to the daddy over the years, and I had a situation where she come swinging, and I tell motherfuckers, a reflex knocked most motherfuckers out, and I ended up hitting her with a reflex, but I ended up wrapping my hands in towels first, because I know she liked to play, so I'm fucking with her and shit.
Fighting, yeah.
And then she ended up and threw a nice one and he cracked me in a reflex. So I ended up, that was that time. And the second time, which was and the last time, was go to her house and she ended up arguing. She real with her hands and shit. But I ended up hitting her in her leg. That's what made me think of that, right? So I ended up hitting her in her leg, right? Now, I would never hit a motherfucker in the face. That's taboo. But I will. If a motherfucker put themselves in that position, yes, I will. My mother raised me that way. Like, because there's women out there who could take it. It's women out here who would take your ass up top.
Some people
yeah.
definitely
You know what I
raised
mean?
that way.
So but at the same time, I went to jail for that one.
Yeah.
And I told myself I would never in my life put my hand on another motherfucker. I sat in jail looking stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that's the fucked up feeling you could ever have, to find yourself downtown sitting in that motherfucker as you didn't put your hands on a woman.
Yeah.
They didn't give a fuck that she hit me first and I retaliated.
Oh, no.
They don't give a fuck about none of that.
No.
They don't give a fuck about none of that. Yeah, the fact that I wasn't there when they came, you're going to jail, nigga. Like, it's just what it is. But I learned my lesson in that one. But then fast forward, got into another relationship. I'm mid-25, about 24, 25. And I had another female who was very motherfucking disrespectful, like just with the. And I'm like, I'm growing up in the hood, it's all you got is your respect.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's all you got is your motherfucking respect. And a motherfucker talk to you like you ain't got no goddamn backbone. Like, now, I never physically punched, but I grabbed by her motherfucking hair and kicked her out my crib. Like, you know what I mean? And she was a fighter. But after that, it was like I stopped that shit because it was like that's not what I wanted. One, I saw my mother go through certain shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, maybe it's the women that I'm choosing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you get a lot of women who, oh, bitch ass nigga, I beat your ass. Until you slap the shit out of them, nothing anyway, everybody gonna call the police. Yeah. Where all that gangster shit at? Like, you know what I mean? So motherfuckers get caught up in that hype of, you know, I'm a woman, you can't hit me, but I can do this and do that and do this to you.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers need to raise their kids a little bit better.
That's the part that I want to talk a little bit on.
Yeah, I mean,
I was a fighter, and I ended up crossing over from being the one to initiate to where I was actually a victim. And so it got it. I think in my instance early on, it was like the moment you call me out my name, oh, we scrapping. You better square up. Because it's going down. It's
Right.
I don't care what I have to
It's
use,
fight night.
what I gotta do. And you
It's
know,
fight
it was
night.
fight night. It was fight night. I'm pulling out knives, bleach, everything, you know. And then at some point in my life, I realized that I was operating behind trauma. You know, that's what was fueling my anger. And so here I am, young me, doing my work, you know, doing my mental health work and working on myself. And then something changed in me. It was just like, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't need this, you know? And so all in all, we talk about all of the different layers that I had going on. So it's like I healed from one layer, but there was still something else in the core of me that still allowed for myself. I'm not even gonna say allow, but still made me vulnerable.
Right.
And I actually met that right one who was actually a narcissist who showed the early warning sign. Oh, he would show up at my house and I'd be like, he is so nice. Look at him. He just came to see me. He was so concerned
so
about
sweet.
me. He's so
That's the
sweet.
sweetest thing you can ever do.
So sweet. The sweetest thing. Look at him. Girl, I'm going to keep him. Because look, he just cares. He listens. You know, this was somebody who did everything by the book, that had everybody so convinced that he was that perfect gentleman.
Fooled.
So much to the point that, man, the red flags were there. But I was blinded by so many other layers within myself that I had going on.
That Mr. Charming phase.
It was like everything felt right. Thank you for listening to Sisters with the T, where I, Charmaine, and my dear beloved sister Danielle have come together to share our experiences and our knowledge. I hope that during this episode that you found yourself enlightened and also encouraged. Again, thank you all for listening, and please subscribe to our channel, and also be sure to check out our website for some awesome herbal teas. Thank you all for listening, and have an awesome day.